I'm 38 male. I've been hosting Thanksgiving for my family every year since I bought my house 5 years ago. What started out as something I enjoyed doing has slowly turned into a dreaded obligation. When I first got my house, I was excited to have the space to entertain, and I thought hosting Thanksgiving would be a great way to bring everyone together and create some new traditions. At the time, I didn't realize just how much work it was going to be, especially since my family apparently thinks the term guest means sit on your ass and do nothing. Thanksgiving at my place isn't just a simple dinner. It's a full-scale event, and I'm not talking about a cozy gathering of a few people around the table. No, it's my parents, my 3 siblings, their spouses, their kids, and every now and then, we'll have some cousins, aunts, or family friends who decide to join in, bringing the grand total to about 20 people. It's a lot, but in the beginning, I didn't mind because I genuinely liked the idea of bringing everyone together under one roof. I thought, hey, I've got this nice house now, plenty of space, a big kitchen, why not host? The first couple of years, I went all out. I'd plan the menu weeks in advance, making sure to have everyone's favorite dishes on the list. I'd ask if anyone had dietary restrictions or special requests, and I'd go out of my way to accommodate them. I even tried to make it fun by introducing new recipes each year, thinking maybe someone would be inspired to contribute. But it quickly became clear that wasn't going to happen. From day one, it was all me. I'm talking every single thing you see on that table, from the massive turkey that takes up an entire shelf of my fridge to the mashed potatoes, roasted veggies, stuffing, cranberry sauce, pies, casseroles, and appetizers. You name it, I'm making it. Every year, I'm the one who does all the grocery shopping, which is an absolute nightmare, by the way. Thanksgiving grocery shopping is not just a quick trip to grab a few things, it's a marathon. I'm pushing a cart so loaded it squeaks around every corner, dodging other frantic shoppers, and trying not to lose my mind while hunting for that one ingredient that's always out of stock because everyone else had the same idea as me. It's not like I'm just picking up a few bags of potatoes and a turkey. I'm buying pounds of meat, a mountain of vegetables, bags of flour, sugar, spices, herbs, and every little thing you could think of to make a feast. Honestly, by the time I'm done, I could probably open up my own mini Thanksgiving grocery store. My receipt is so long it could double as a table runner. And let's not even talk about carrying all that stuff into the house and finding room for it in my fridge, pantry, and countertops that are already overflowing. And then, of course, comes the prep. This is the part that really drives me up the wall. I'll spend hours, sometimes even days, before Thanksgiving getting everything ready. I'm peeling and chopping potatoes, dicing onions, washing and trimming green beans, marinating the turkey, mixing up pie dough from scratch. The list goes on. It's like running a restaurant kitchen, except I don't have a sous chef or anyone to pass off a task to. I'm doing it all, alone, my family, nowhere to be found. I've told them before, hey, if you want to come a bit earlier, maybe you could help me with some of the prep work. They just kind of nod and say, yeah, sure, and then show up right on time to eat, like clockwork. By noon on Thanksgiving Day, they all start to roll in, and it's the same routine every time. They come in carrying nothing but maybe a bottle of wine, and not even the good stuff, just whatever was on sale. That's if I'm lucky. Most of the time, they bring themselves and that's it. They waltz through the door, acting like they've done me a favor by showing up, and give me this vague, cheerful smile, as if that makes up for not lifting a finger to help. Oh, you've really outdone yourself this year. It smells amazing, they say, glancing at the oven before heading straight for the living room to plop down on the couch. I'm still up to my elbows in mashed potatoes, trying to juggle a dozen different tasks at once, but they're all too busy chatting, laughing, and catching up, completely oblivious to the fact that I'm running around the kitchen. By the time they arrive, I've been up since the crack of dawn, making sure everything is in order. I've barely had time to drink a cup of coffee, let alone take a break. I'm already running on fumes, but that doesn't stop them from wandering in and asking, when's the food gonna be ready? As if I'm a waiter at their favorite restaurant, and they've been waiting an unreasonable amount of time for their order. It's infuriating because they can clearly see I'm busting my ass trying to get everything done, but instead of offering to help set the table or mash the potatoes, they're just waiting. It's like they don't even realize how much work goes into making sure there's a beautiful spread for them to enjoy. They're treating it like it's magic. Last year was the final straw for me. I had asked, practically begged, for help ahead of time. I sent out a message a few weeks before, something like, "Hey guys, I'm really looking forward to Thanksgiving, but it's a lot for me to do on my own. Could someone bring an appetizer or maybe a salad?" Even some store-bought rolls would help take the edge off. I wasn't asking for much, just a small contribution so I didn't have to do absolutely everything. What did I get? Excuses. The same old, tired excuses I've heard 100 times before. "Oh, I'm not good in the kitchen. I don't really know how to cook, and my personal favorite. Well, we just love your cooking so much. We don't want to mess it up, seriously. I'm not asking you to bake a souffle or make a beef Wellington. I'm asking you to pick up a bag of rolls from the store. But apparently, that's too much." Meanwhile, they're lounging around the living room, scrolling through their phones, watching the parade, and chatting away, completely carefree. I'm trying to keep track of a dozen different dishes, making sure nothing burns, nothing's undercooked, everything comes out hot at the same time, and it's just chaos. It's not like I can just throw a few things in the oven and call it a day. Cooking for 20 people is a massive undertaking. I'm managing timing, temperature, plating, and everything in between. And the worst part is, no one even bothers to offer a hand. They don't even think to ask, "Hey, do you need help carving the turkey, or can I stir this for you?" It's like I'm invisible until the food is ready, and then suddenly, they all come flocking in, plates in hand, ready to feast. By the time the meal is finally ready, I'm absolutely exhausted, sweaty, and, to be honest, pretty pissed off. I've been on my feet for hours, barely had a moment to sit down, and I'm running around like a maniac trying to make sure everything is perfect. Every year, I keep telling myself it's worth it when I see everyone enjoying the meal, but when that moment comes, it's a bittersweet mix of relief and frustration. Everyone gathers around the table, and there's this moment of oohs and ahs as they see the spread I've put together, and yeah, I'll admit, it feels good. I've worked hard, and the food looks great, but at that point, I'm barely even tasting anything. I'm just running on autopilot, still thinking about all the things that need to be done after we finish eating. When they start eating, I hear a lot of "This is amazing." And "Wow, you've really outdone yourself this year," but it's like, thanks, I guess. Because I know what's coming next. As soon as they finish stuffing their faces, they're out of there. They eat, they compliment me on how great everything is, and then, without a second thought, they get up from the table and head straight back to the living room. Some of them don't even bother putting their plates in the sink. They just leave them sitting there, waiting for someone else me to deal with them. It's like a feeding frenzy. The moment they're done, they scatter, leaving me with a kitchen that looks like a war zone. I wish I was exaggerating when I say that it takes me over an hour to clean up after everyone has left. Plates piled high, serving dishes with remnants of food dried on them, utensils everywhere, empty wine glasses scattered around the house, and that's not even mentioning the pots and pans I used to cook everything. It's a mess. I'm scrubbing pans, rinsing out sticky gravy bowls, soaking dishes that have mashed potatoes caked on them, and trying to organize what's left of the leftovers to send home with everyone. I'm still washing up long after everyone else has gone home to relax on their couches. By the time I'm done, I'm so tired that I can barely stand. My back aches, my hands are pruny from all the dishwashing, and I just want to collapse. And do you think anyone offers to stay behind and help? Nope. Not a single one of them. Every year, it's the same thing. As soon as dinner is over, they're all too busy rushing home to catch the football game, to get the kids to bed, or whatever excuse they can come up with to avoid doing the real work. They throw out these half-hearted, "Let me know if you need help," as they're putting on their coats, but when I actually need help, crickets. I once tried to gently hint that it would be nice if a few people stuck around to help tidy up, and they just laughed it off, saying, "Oh, you're so good at it, though," like that was some kind of compliment. So this year, I decided I wasn't doing it. I love Thanksgiving, I love the food, I love having everyone together, but I don't love feeling like a doormat. I sent out a group message a month ago, explaining that I wasn't going to host Thanksgiving this year. I kept it polite but firm. I said I was happy to help someone else with the meal, or we could pool some money together and get it catered, but I wasn't going to shoulder the whole event alone again. I figured it was time to set some boundaries and stop letting myself be taken advantage of. I didn't think it would be a big deal. I thought maybe, just maybe, they'd realize how much work it actually is and step up. Well, you would have thought I told them I was canceling Christmas. The reactions were instant, and they were dramatic, to say the least. My siblings immediately started complaining, saying it's tradition for me to host and how they always look forward to coming to my place. It was like no one even considered why I might not want to do it anymore. They just cared about how it was going to inconvenience them. My mom called me up, sounding genuinely hurt, saying, "But the kids love coming to your house. It wouldn't be the same anywhere else." She made it sound like I was ruining some kind of sacred ritual, and that really stung because I'm not trying to ruin anything, I'm just trying to take care of myself for once. And then my aunt decided to chime in, saying I was being selfish and that it wasn't that big of a deal to host. She actually said, "It's just one day. You're making a mountain out of a molehill. Not that big of a deal." Easy for her to say, considering she's never even brought a damn side dish. It's always me doing all the work, and everyone else just breezes in and out, enjoying the day without a care in the world. They don't see the hours I spend planning, shopping, cooking, and cleaning. They just show up, eat, and leave. And now, they're acting like I'm the Grinch who stole Thanksgiving because I had the audacity to ask for a little help or suggest we change things up. It's exhausting. I tried to explain that it's not just about the cooking. It's the shopping, the prepping, the cleaning, the stress of making sure everything's perfect while everyone else just sits back and enjoys themselves. It's the mental load of organizing a meal for 20 people, making sure there's enough food, that everything comes out hot, and that every dish is just right. I'm juggling a dozen things at once, timing the turkey, stirring sauces, baking pies, and coordinating it all so nothing's cold or overcooked. It's like running a small-scale restaurant for a day, and I'm the chef, server, and dishwasher all rolled into one. And no one else is even aware of the effort it takes to pull it off. When I told them how exhausted I was, how it wasn't fair for one person to be doing all of this, and that I felt taken advantage of, I thought they'd understand, maybe even appreciate how much work I've been putting in every year. But instead, they doubled down. They acted like I was making a fuss over nothing, like my feelings didn't matter because, to them, it was just a day to sit around and have a good time. My brother, the one who usually shows up late with an armful of Tupperware to take home leftovers, actually had the nerve to laugh. "It's just one day," he said, with this dismissive tone, like I was overreacting. How hard could it be, as if he's ever done anything other than park himself on the couch, beer in hand, and wait for the food to magically appear in front of him. My mom tried to play the guilt card, saying I was ruining Thanksgiving for the kids, as if they'd be devastated not to be at my house. But let's be real, they're kids. They don't care where we have Thanksgiving. All they care about is that there's food, desserts, and space to run around while the adults talk. I could serve them chicken nuggets and mashed potatoes on paper plates, and they'd be just as happy. But of course, she painted this picture of sad, disappointed kids missing out on some cherished tradition, trying to make me feel like a monster for not wanting to host this year. She's acting like my decision would shatter their little hearts when, really, they're more interested in the pumpkin pie than where it's served. It was frustrating, to say the least. I could feel my patience slipping, but I tried to keep it together. I even suggested we rotate who hosts each year, thinking that was a fair compromise. I mean, why should it always be on me? Let's spread the responsibility a bit. But, of course, no one was willing to step up. My sister-in-law quickly jumped in with, "Well, we don't have a big enough house," as if that was the end of the discussion. Sure, their house might be smaller, but it's not like I'm asking them to host the Oscars. We're family, we can make it work. It's just another excuse because she doesn't want to deal with the hassle. My brother added, "Our kitchen isn't set up for that kind of thing," as if I've been hosting Thanksgiving every year because I have a state-of-the-art industrial kitchen. Spoiler alert, I don't. I have a standard kitchen with the same counter space and stove as everyone else. I just make it work because someone has to. It's all just excuses because no one wants to do the work. They're happy to come over, eat, drink, and enjoy themselves, but the second there's talk of taking on some responsibility, they scatter like cockroaches when the lights come on. So now, I'm stuck feeling like the bad guy because I dared to say, "No, I don't want to be your unpaid chef and maid this year. They're acting like I'm the Grinch, stealing their holiday, when all I'm asking for is a little bit of fairness. It's not like I'm canceling Thanksgiving. I even suggested we could all chip in and get it catered if no one else wants to cook. But that idea was brushed off, too, because, of course, no one wants to pay for something they've been getting for free. I'm tired of being taken for granted, and I honestly don't think I'm asking for much. I didn't say we couldn't have Thanksgiving, I just said I'm not hosting it by myself. I love my family, and I do enjoy the idea of everyone coming together. I just don't want to be the only one breaking my back to make it happen. Is that so unreasonable? But now, the guilt is creeping in because I do care about my family, and I don't want to be the reason Thanksgiving gets canceled or is less enjoyable for everyone. But at the same time, I'm exhausted. I'm tired of feeling like I'm the only one who cares enough to put in the effort, and I'm tired of them assuming that I'll just keep doing it year after year without complaint. So, wait for refusing to host Thanksgiving this year. Update. So after all the drama and guilt tripping from my family, I ended up caving. I know I felt like such a pushover, but I just couldn't stand the idea of being the one who ruined Thanksgiving. All those comments from my mom about how the kids would be disappointed, my siblings whining about how they always looked forward to my cooking, and the constant mentions of tradition really got to me. I started feeling like I was the selfish one for putting my foot down, even though deep down I know I was just trying to set some boundaries. So, against my better judgment, I sent out another message to the family group chat, saying that I would go ahead and host Thanksgiving again this year. But this time, I made a point to say that I'd need some help. I wasn't asking for much, just a little assistance with the cooking or even bringing a dish or two. I thought, okay, maybe I'll make the turkey, stuffing, and 1 or 2 sides, and the rest can be potluck style. That way, it wouldn't be all on me, and everyone could still enjoy the holiday. I figured if they were so adamant about me hosting, they'd at least be willing to pitch in a little bit, right? Spoiler, I was wrong. As soon as I mentioned needing help, the excuses started pouring in, just like I knew they would. My brother was too busy with work to prep anything ahead of time, even though I've seen his social media, and he's clearly got time to go golfing every weekend. My sister-in-law said she'd bring a salad, which she always says but never actually does. One of my cousins said, I'm not good at cooking, but I'll bring some wine. As if that was the same as actually making something. My aunt, who usually shows up with just her appetite, threw out some vague offer to help with the cleanup, which, based on past experience, I knew meant she'd throw a couple of paper cups in the trash before heading home. Basically, they were all just finding ways to wiggle out of any real responsibility, and it was obvious that I'd be stuck doing everything by myself again. At that point, I was pissed. I mean, they'd practically begged me to host, but the moment I asked for the slightest bit of help, they were all too busy, not skilled enough, or just plain uninterested. I started thinking, if they're going to act like guests at a restaurant, maybe I should treat them like that. So I came up with a plan. If they weren't going to contribute by helping out, then they could contribute financially. I decided I'd still do all the shopping, prep, and cooking, but I'd keep a detailed list of everything I bought. The turkey, the sides, the drinks, the desserts, even the extra napkins and decorations. I wrote down every single thing. And when the day was over, I divide the total cost by the number of adults and give them each a bill. I know it sounds petty, but I was done feeling like a doormat. So I went ahead and prepared for Thanksgiving as usual. I braved the packed grocery stores, spent a ridiculous amount of time in the kitchen chopping, stirring, roasting, and baking. The morning of Thanksgiving, I was up before the sun, making sure everything was on track. My house smelled amazing, and the table was set beautifully, just like it always is. I even made sure to have a few different kinds of pie because I know everyone has their favorites. But the whole time, I was keeping a mental note. This is going to cost them. When everyone showed up, it was exactly like every other year. They came in with their arms full of nothing but their coats and maybe a bottle of wine, and immediately made themselves comfortable. No one offered to help, not even a casual, need a hand with anything. They just sat around, chatting, laughing, and occasionally popping into the kitchen to ask when the food would be ready. It was infuriating. At one point, my sister-in-law actually joked, "Hurry up, we're starving." Like I was the staff in a restaurant. And that's when I knew I'd made the right decision. When the food was finally ready, I brought it out and watched them dig in like they hadn't eaten in weeks. It was all, oh my God, this is so good. And you've really outdone yourself this year, as they piled their plates high. They were having a great time, oblivious to the fact that I was barely even enjoying myself because I was already thinking about the mountain of dishes waiting for me in the kitchen. And when they finished eating, surprise, surprise, they all disappeared back into the living room to relax. No one made a move to help clear the table or do any of the cleanup, just like always. So I started washing up, stacking plates, scrubbing pans, and packing up the leftovers. By the time I finished, I was exhausted, but I wasn't done yet. I brought out the check. Yup, I had calculated the cost of everything, divided it by the number of adults, and printed out a little breakdown for each of them. When I handed them the bills, you should have seen their faces. They were absolutely stunned. For a moment, it was like they didn't understand what was happening. One of my cousins laughed, thinking it was a joke, until she saw that I was serious. I calmly explained that since I was the one who did all the shopping, cooking, and cleaning, and no one wanted to help, I thought it was fair to split the cost. The room went silent, and then the complaining started. Wait, you want us to pay? This is crazy. We're family. Since when do we have to pay for Thanksgiving? They were acting like I was charging them to attend my wedding or something, not just asking them to pitch in for a meal that they insisted I host. My brother muttered something about how it was tradition for me to host, and that meant I shouldn't be asking for money, but I shut that down quick. I said, if I'm doing all the work, I shouldn't be footing the bill too. Either you help out, or you pay up, simple as that. In the end, they begrudgingly paid. I could tell they were pissed, but I didn't care anymore. I was tired of their freeloading, and I was tired of feeling unappreciated. But, of course, they didn't let it go. A couple of days later, someone brought it up in the family group chat. They were still fuming about how I had ruined Thanksgiving by making them pay and how it was so rude of me because we're family. My aunt even threw in a passive-aggressive comment about how she thought it was funny that I acted like I didn't have a job, implying that I should have been happy to do it for free since I had the time. That one stung, but I didn't back down. I wrote back, saying, yes, we're family, but that doesn't mean I should be the only one doing all the work every year. If no one wants to help, then it's only fair to split the costs. Family doesn't mean you get to take advantage of someone. After that, the chat went quiet. I don't think they expected me to call them out so directly, but I was done playing nice.